Takole, drage moje dame in spoštovani gospodje, smo nazaj v drugem delu današnje konference ADRIA Innovation Day 2020. Verjamem, da vam je tale kava teknila. Upam, da je nekaterim izmed vas dobro del tudi sprehod, ki sem ga priporočil, drugače pa ga boste morda lahko izkoristili v naslednjem odmoru, ki bo namenjen tudi kosilu. No, v drugem vsebinskem delu, ki bo trajal 1,5 ure do že napovedanega kosila in daljšega odmora, pa bomo govorili o dobrih praksah v surovinskem sektorju. Lepo ste povabljeni v tem delu med naslednjimi 3 predavanji k vpisovanju vaših komentarjev, vaših vprašanj, pripomb v chat sekcijo, saj bomo z vsemi 3 predavateljicami in pa predavateljem po koncu njihovih predstavitev imeli tudi krajšo diskusijo in odgovarjali na vaša vprašanja. In kot prvi bosta doktorica Mateja Košir iz Zavoda za gradbeništvo Slovenije in Tina Osojnik iz Osojnik Legal Boutiquea predstavili EIT RawMaterials projekt SPL-CYCLE. Ta projekt je zelo zanimiv, saj z inovativno tehnologijo prečiščevanja nevarnih odpadkov poskuša prodreti na trg z vzpostavljanjem poslovnega modela, ki temelji na krožnem gospodarstvu. No, pa poglejmo, kako to deluje. Mateja in Tina, predajam vama besedo.
Toplo pozdravljeni, vsi v mojem imenu. Vsi udeleženci virtualnega dogodka ADRIA, Dan inovacij ADRIA 2020 in najlepša hvala za tako lep uvod. Predstavila bom SPL-CYCLE projekt, to je inovativna tehnologija na poti do uspešne komercializacije. Projekt je voden, je upscaling projekt, je sofinanciran iz strani EIT RawMaterials in temelji na nadgradnji TRL-5 do TRL-7. Jaz osebno pa sem raziskovalka v laboratoriju za kamen agregat in reciklirane materiale na Zavodu za gradbeništvo in fokus naše raziskovalne skupine so raziskave na industrijskih in rudarskih odpadkih in njihova implementacija kot sekundarna surovina v gradbeništvu. Kaj v bistvu je katodni odpad, SPL? To je spent pot lining. Katodni odpad nastaja, kje nastaja? Verjamem, da vsi poznate aluminija, pač Coca-Cola, pločevinka iz aluminija. In vsaka pločevinka Coca-Cole poskrbi za doprinos količini katodnega odpada, ki nastane na svetu. Katodni odpad nastaja v primarni proizvodnji aluminija, tu na desni je fotografija elektrolizne primarne proizvodnje aluminija in ena tona proizvedenega aluminija je cca 20 kilogramov katodnega odpada. Pri 63 milijonih ton na leto proizvedenega aluminija to znese 1.260.000 ton katodnega odpada na leto. Trenutne projekcije so, da bo proizvodnja primarnega aluminija naraščala, mogoče v trenutni situaciji malo manj eksponentno, ampak zaradi visokih potreb avtomobilske industrije se bo količina katodnega odpada povečevala. In zakaj je to problematično? Katodni odpad je v bistvu mešanica grafita, grafitiziranega ogljika in alumosilikatov. Nastaja v elektroliznih celicah in te celice se sčasoma po določenem časovnem intervalu impregnirajo s kriolitom. Z elektrolitom kriolitom in to pomeni, da elektrolizna celica, grafitiziran ogljik, izgubi svoje lastnosti in ga morajo zamenjati. Zamenjajo pa tako imenovani first cut, to je ta grafitiziran ogljik, ki predstavlja katodo, in spodnjo ognjevzdržno podlago, ki ščiti to celico zaradi visokih temperatur in ta spodnji second cut, tako imenovani, pa predstavljajo alumosilikati. Oba materiala, kot sem že omenila, sta impregnirana s kriolitom in fluoridnimi solmi iz elektrolizne celice. Med elektrolizo pa nastajajo tudi cianidi, ki se kopičijo v teh porah. In zato ima katodni odpad status nevarnega odpadka in manjšim in izoliranim proizvajalcem je skladiščenje in transport katodnega odpadka visok strošek in predstavlja visoko nevarnost za okolje. Tu je slika iz vrstičnega elektronskega mikroskopa, kjer vam prikazujemo, kaj se zgodi, kaj se dogaja pri tej impregnaciji. To je zrno grafitiziranega ogljika in kako je impregniran s fluoridnimi solmi. Postopek prečiščevanja in izločevanja fluoridnih soli iz tega materiala je vsekakor lahko kar zahteven. In težaven, zato se večina proizvajalcev primarnega aluminija odloča za začasno shranjevanje v dobro prezračenih skladiščih oziroma do takrat do transporta na odlagališče. Na sredini je ena fotografija odlagališča, otoka, ki je v bistvu odlagališče katodnega odpada iz skandinavske države, kar je v bistvu kar presenečenje in velja za eno izmed črnih točk na tistem območju. Dobršen del katodnega odpada pa se tudi sežiga v sežigalnicah. Torej, imamo 1.260.000 ton uporabne surovine, ki je delno, ker grafit je na listi kritičnih surovin EU30, nova lista, ki jo letno ne uporabimo oziroma jo zavržemo. In ta potencial je potrebno izkoristiti. In ravno to delamo v SPL-CYCLE projektu, ki implementira inovativno tehnologijo brez odpadkov za recikliranje katodnih odpadkov iz proizvodnje aluminija. Naša tehnologija je v primerjavi z nekaj obstoječimi tehnologijami, ki obstajajo za prečiščevanje in sosežig katodnega odpada, enostavna, prilagodljiva in ima nizke investicijske in operativne stroške. Naši ključni trgi pa so manjši in odročni proizvajalci aluminija. Ti proizvajalci nimajo primerne ali sežigalnice in ker večinoma odpadek odlagajo, jih pestijo visoki stroški in zaradi spremembe zakonodaji odlaganje katodnega odpada ne bo več tako enostavno v naslednjem letu. Poleg tega pa s prečiščevanjem katodnega odpada, SPL-CYCLE tehnologije, dobimo 3 uporabne produkte, ki jih lahko dodamo v lokalno industrijsko okolje in imamo samozadosten krožni poslovni model. Dobimo grafitiziran ogljik, alumosilikate, ki jih uporabimo lahko v gradbeništvu, in fluoridne soli, ki jih uporabimo v metalurgiji. Prav tako grafitiziran ogljik. SPL-CYCLE projekt je koordiniran s strani Zavoda za gradbeništvo Slovenije. V projektu pa so še kot raziskovalne inštitucije še UVRT iz Nemčije in VITO iz Belgije. Izobraževalne inštitucije so Univerza v Ljubljani, Fakulteta za strojništvo in Nacionalna tehniška univerza iz Aten. Poleg tega je še Chalmers iz Švedske in pomemben industrijski partner pa je Mytilineos, pod katerim deluje aluminijev okis. Tehnologija in tehnološki princip pa je bil zasnovan v znanstveno-raziskovalnem središču Bistra, Ptuj, ki je eden izmed ključnih partnerjev v projektu. Kakor sem že omenila, SPL-CYCLE je upscaling projekt, gremo iz tehnološkega nivoja 5 na tehnološki nivo 7. Princip prečiščevanja odpadka je v postopku patentne prijave, recepture za prečiščevanje odpadka pa bodo ostale poslovna skrivnost. Na kratko o tehnologiji. Kakor sem prej pokazala na slikici, imamo first cut je grafitiziran ogljik in second cut so alumosilikati. Ti so zdrobljeni na primerno gradacijo in v srcu naše tehnologije, če lahko tako rečem, imamo ekstraktor, v katerem se dogaja najprej detoksifikacija za razgradnjo cianidov z UV aktiviranim vodikovim peroksidom in naknadno še razgradnja in ekstrakcija kriolita in fluoridnih soli. Dobimo tekoči preostanek, ki je bogat s fluoridnimi solmi in ta gre v postprocesiranje, kjer mu dodamo gašeno apno in dobimo natrijev hidroksid in izločene kalcijev fluorid kot trdni precipitat. Trdni preostanek, ki ostane v ekstraktorju, pa če je potrebno, večinoma je first in second cut dobro ločen, ker ga ločujejo, tudi če ga ločujejo mehansko, pri tem zelo pazijo, ločujemo s flotacijo. Tu je naš pilot za mano, v bistvu je tu. Tu na sliki pa je malo širši pregled. Na levi vidite srce naše naprave oziroma našega postopka, to je ekstraktor. Zgoraj imamo rezervoarje za vse izlužene tekočine, ves postopek je avtomatiziran in ga vodimo centralno iz enega računalnika, lahko pa tudi na daljavo. Zgornji del predstavlja ekstrakcijsko enoto, spodnji del zmešalno enoto in filtrsko prešo pa uporabljamo za pripravo suspenzije, kalcijevega fluorida in ločevanje teh soli na koncu. Prečiščevanje katodnega odpada ni ravno enostavna in mogoče direkten postopek, da bi bil recept za vse materiale in za vse katodne odpade od vseh proizvajalcev aluminija enak. Tu na fotografiji, iz vrstičnega elektronskega mikroskopa lahko vidimo, da imamo kompleksno zasedbo fluoridnih soli in je za njihovo dobro ekstrakcijo pomembna prilagodljivost tehnologije, poznavanje vseh tehnoloških postopkov in poznavanje želja in zahtev končnih uporabnikov. V projektu SPL-CYCLE smo že od začetka imeli direktne kontakte z deležniki, proizvajalci aluminija, v konzorciju je tudi Aluminijev okris in surovinskim sektorjem, ki so potencialni končni uporabniki produktov SPL-CYCLE tehnologije. Na podlagi tega smo modelirali proces in termodinamiko kemijskih reakcij ter optimizirali procese na naši pilotni napravi. In optimizirali seveda tudi lastnosti končnih produktov, da so primerni potrebam industrije, iz strani gradacije, iz strani končne vsebnosti fluoridne soli, se pravi stopnje prečiščevanja. Trenutno smo v fazi, v zadnjem letu projekta in pripravljamo kriterije za polni scale-up, glede na feedback od industrije, je to 200 kilogramov na uro, pripravljamo tudi LCA model in analizo procesa. Trenutno smo pa najbolj intenzivirali tudi drugi del, ki je komercializacija in trženje. In zato smo poiskali tudi našo Tino, ki bo v nadaljevanju povedala še nekaj o tem pomembnem aspektu. Kaj na koncu mi komercializiramo? Mi bomo industrijski scale-up prodali primarnim proizvajalcem aluminija, glede prilagojen njihovim željam in kapacitetam. Poleg tega bodo dobili še tehnološke recepte za procesiranje, za pripravo produktov, ki so zahtevani od potreb njihove lokalne industrije. Tako imamo poslovni model, ki zapira zanko na področju katodnega odpada. In zdaj bi povabila Tino, da pove še kaj o pomembnih aspektih komercializacije.
Ja, Mateja, hvala lepa, lepo pozdravljeni vsi skupaj. Jaz sodelujem z Matejem, z ekipo točno na tem področju komercializacije, se pravi, to genialno tehnologijo je treba zdaj spraviti na trg, kar pomeni, da je treba na ves proces pogledati tudi z druge strani, a ne? In to je tista poslovna stran, se pravi, vedno moramo na tehnologijo gledati z vidika, ali jo trg potrebuje, kaj točno potrebuje in kaj v bistvu tehnologija sploh lahko ponudi. Tako da, ko je tehnologija v neki zgodnji fazi, je že treba začeti razmišljati o poslovnem načrtu, torej, zakaj se to sploh dela, na katere trge bomo to lansirali, na kakšen način, kaj bojo imeli končni uporabniki od tega in kaj seveda bomo imeli mi od tega, a ne. Tako da, če tehnologijo gledamo iz enega vidika, je komercializacija v bistvu, evo, spet zaprta zanka, tako kot je SPL-CYCLE, torej, če združimo ta product, market in to dvoje paše skupaj, potem imamo lahko zelo lušen scale-up projekt. Torej, poslovni načrt je pač nujen v primeru vsake tehnologije, in vedno se je treba spraševati in konstantno se je treba spraševati, zakaj to počnemo, zakaj želimo to ponuditi, kaj v bistvu bo imel končni uporabnik od tega, kaj je ta dodana vrednost, a ne? In ko to mi vse ugotovimo, kako zdaj prepričati tega končnega uporabnika, da je to. A ne? In to mi v bistvu z ekipo počnemo zdaj, da to tehnologijo, ki je sigurno tehnologija prihodnosti in so, jaz mislim, da tudi par korakov pred trgom, da to zdaj s pravilnim sporočilom spravimo do končnih strank. Drugi aspekt, ki je pa ravno tako pomemben in s katerim se tudi ukvarjamo, je pa v bistvu sama esenca tehnologije, to je pa intelektualna lastnina. Kot ste slišali, Mateja je rekla, da je to patent pending in poslovna skrivnost, kar pomeni, da je ekipa znala identificirati tisti glavni asset, s katerim bo konec koncev razpolagala in okrog katerega se tudi vrti poslovni model. Kar pomeni, da moramo iti spet od začetka, a ne, vprašati se je treba, a smo vsi v ekipi v bistvu na isti strani, a so vsi partnerji na isti strani, a ne, kako bomo s tem nastopali na trgu. Zelo neugodno bi bilo, da v bistvu poslovni model stoji, potem se pa partnerji v zadnji skregajo, ker niso bili v osnovi zmenjeni, ali pa patent ni podeljen na ta pravih teritorijih ali na pravi način. Torej, ta freedom to operate na vseh nivojih, tako z vidika intelektualne lastnine, torej, da smo mi res prvi, da imamo ta zakoniti monopol in da ga lahko komercializiramo, do freedom to operate na poslovnem področju. Torej, tukaj je v bistvu point tega pristopa k komercializaciji, da v bistvu zajamemo celoten poslovni del, da stopimo malo iz cone udobja in razmišljamo predvsem z vidika končnega uporabnika, končnega trga in seveda, da so vsa razmerja med nami urejena, dokler smo še vsi prijatelji. In na tem mi zdaj pospešeno delamo in jaz mislim, Mateja, da zdaj nam gre že pa precej dobro, a ne?
Res je. Lahko rečem iz naše perspektive, da je izjemno pomembno, kakor je Tina rekla, da že v začetni fazi se vključi specialista za intelektualno lastnino in nekoga, ki pokriva trženje, ker to sta dva ključna aspekta za uspešno komercializacijo vsake tehnologije, vsake inovativne tehnologije. In jaz bi rekla, da to je v bistvu eno izmed glavnih sporočil te predstavitve, poleg ostalega, seveda. Če na kratko zaključimo, je, da v SPL-CYCLE projektu razvijamo inovativno tehnologijo zasnovano na zero waste principu in zapiranju zanke v industriji aluminija na področju katodnega odpada. Ta odpad je nevaren odpadek in trenutno ni primernih rešitev za njegovo krožno implementacijo, tako rečem. Mi v projektu z tehnologijo prečiščevanja dobimo 3 produkte, grafitizirana oglika, lumosilikate in fluoridne soli, ki se lahko uporabijo v lokalni industriji. In tako dobimo vzdržen poslovni model tudi za primarne proizvajalce aluminija oziroma tiste, ki bi to tehnologijo predelovanja izvajali na lokaciji. Pomemben aspekt je, da vse inovativne tehnologije, ki gredo na višje od TRL-5, morajo biti razvite skupaj z inputom od glavnih deležnikov. In produkti morajo biti prilagojeni potrebam lokalne industrije. To pomeni, da je ravno ta marketing in kontakti z industrijo, pridobivanje informacij, to je ključno za kasnejše uspešne korake komercializacije. Mi smo trenutno v fazi upscalinga in komercializacije in pri tem Tina res izjemno pomaga. In izpostaviti, kot smo že na začetku, pravilno upravljanje z intelektualno lastnino, ker če tudi vse ostalo teče, štima v projektu, če tako rečem, je lahko intelektualna lastnina kot ena stopnica, ob katero se na koncu pred komercializacijo, če ni urejena, lahko spotaknete. Spodaj sta samo dve sliki našega srca naprave, ekstraktorja in letošnje predelave, ki je pač prilagojena trenutni situaciji. Hvala vsem za pozornost in želimo res, če imate kakršnakoli vprašanja, jih lahko naslovite, da vam predstavimo naš vidik, kako delujemo v RawMaterials upscaling projektih, mogoče tudi več informacij o tem, kakšne so zahteve, kakšne so želje, na ta način. Tako da hvala vsem za pozornost.
Najlepša hvala, Mateja in Tina, za tole res energično predstavitev. Zelo mi je bila všeč, tudi zelo mi je bilo všeč, kako ste si podajali besede in ostanita z nami vse do konca. Imam precej vprašanj za vaju. Tudi želel sem vprašati, Mateja, izpostavila si Coca-Colino pločevinko, pa me zanima, če pločevinka Pepsija oddaja oziroma če je pri pločevinki Pepsija kaj manj tega kahtodnega odpada. Ampak bodi dovolj o tem kasneje v naši diskusiji. Prehajamo pa na drugo predavanje. Pridružila se nam bo Mojca Markizeti iz podjetja Iskraemeco. Mojca je vodja trajnostnega razvoja in regulative v tem podjetju, ki se res že leta zelo aktivno ukvarja s krožnim gospodarstvom in v resnici premika meje krožnega gospodarstva. Ne samo v njihovem podjetju, ampak tudi širše. Mojca, beseda je tvoja.
Hvala lepa, Aleš. Hvala organizatorjem za povabilo. Jaz bom kar podelila pravzaprav moj screen. Upam, da vidite zdaj moje, če me lahko kdo sam potrdi, da vidite v bistvu moj zaslon oziroma mojo predstavitev, bi bilo fino. Je v redu? Je v redu, okej, hvala vam. Skratka, jaz mislim, da sem jaz majčkeno drugačen vidik danes v tem celotnem vašem dogodku. Jaz sem zaposlena v globalnem podjetju Iskraemeco, se ukvarja z pravzaprav bringing intelligence to energy in šmuto. Ukvarjamo se z ustvarjanjem, s kreiranjem software in hardware rešitev za pravzaprav merjenje tako energije kot tudi vode. In na ta način pa pravzaprav omogočamo svojim strankam boljši management teh resursov. Pri vsem tem je pa pomembno večplastno, se pravi sodelovanje. Eno je, kakšne so pravzaprav komponente, ki jih vgrajujejo, in tukaj smo zdaj konkretno na teh gadgetih in na uporabi materialov in tako naprej, in potem kako jih uporabljajo in kako lahko privarčujejo resurse skozi pač uporabo. Jaz si bom samo urico naštimala, zato da slučajno ne grem čez timing. Takole. Okej, skratka. Naslov mojega predavanja, tako kot je že Aleš omenil, I'll be speaking in English because this is how we agreed and I think everybody understands it, and if I understand correctly, you also have simultaneous translation, which is really great. So it's about pushing the boundaries towards circular economy in electronic and energy industry, because this is where our company is part of. And I chose this slide of hot air balloons taking off because this is actually the way I see it. It's many ideas, many projects that need to take off. Not all of them are going to land where needed, but without that, there's no success. So I'll be bringing you a viewpoint of an industry, of economy, of how we see things, what we're trying to do, what we need, and so on. The most of all, how we see things and how we are affected is by this, that the speed kills. Yeah, speed in economy kills those who don't change fast enough. And today's change means taking in consideration many, many different risks. Among them, among top business risks are environmental risks. So we need to change fast to sustain, but nobody just wants to sustain. We want to thrive, and we want to bring our societies the quality of life that they have now, or improve quality of life in some other societies. So in business language, sustainability and circular economy basically means action first and excuses never, okay? So already mentioned, sustainability for us and circular economy, it means contributing to a better world and building a future-proof business, because in so many ways, with everything that's happening around the world, wherever in the world, we're affected, and we're also feeling many effects of previous generations' decisions, business decisions that we're taking, and business models that were happening. So now we are the generation that we need to be really smart and really fast to correct everything from the past. So for us, it's really time to make a smart move. And like mentioned, we're in high-tech industry, electronic industry, and energy industry. And I always like to say that Industrial Revolution 4.0 is really not only about technology, like many translate, but it's mainly about knowledge and values and synergies. And it's about using the data for a better world. And I'm really glad that I was invited to participate at this conference, because this is the way I see EIT hubs. It's innovation and it's synergy and it's connecting the knowledge, and it's really making fast steps towards something better. So I'll try and explain how we designed our approach to sustainability, circular economy, and where do we try to contribute to better world and at the same time improve our own business. So our strategy is basically divided in three different pillars. One is internal processes, so everything we analyze within the company and decide to change within the company. Then secondly is the partnering processes, so meaning everything that we basically address to our stakeholders, to our suppliers, because we are responsible how our suppliers are reacting, how our partners in design are reacting, and what's their roadmap, what is their progress, how do they treat environment, and everything concerning that. And then the third pillar, basically, already mentioned, being part of electronic and energy industry. Those are industries, well, electronic is changing, but energy industry is a rigid industry. It's a heavy industry. It really wants to, it's really lobbying strong to staying where it is. This is changing in the last year and a half, especially with the new formation of the European Commission. Many things are really, we speed up the pace of change a lot, but still, you know, in order to actually bring sustainability and circular economy it's not that you wait that something happens in the market and that you're asked from your customers for something more. Basically, it's our responsibility, and that needs to be in all the industries. It needs to be our responsibility to just bring in better standards, higher standards, and improve in the sense of circular economy. I strongly believe that this is where we stand now in this historical moment. And everything, all those actions are divided in 3 or 8 strategic chapters. And I will try to explain how we developed through years. So we started, of course, with the most obvious, which is one planet design. So meaning all the services and all the products need to be designed according to one planet principle, according to one planet rule. Meaning we need to be smart in design to think what's the materials that we use, how many materials are we using, which materials we use together, how can the product be, what's the level of recyclability of the product, can we bring recycled materials in the product, what's the energy use of the product, what's the life cycle of the product, what's the updatability, upgradability, repairability of the product. Because one thing is that I want you to know and understand is, yes, we're part of electronic industry, and if I ask you for how long are you using your mobiles and so on, it's like 2-3 years. Not so many of us are using those devices for much longer. Our devices are at the same time are measuring devices and communication devices, and the life cycle of them is 20 years. So meaning that our devices are closed in some sort of chambers. Most of the time you cannot reach out to them, only a professional installer can do that. And they need to stay there. They need to stay there, and they need to be there despite the humidity can be 100%. There needs to be temperatures can be up to or even more than 70 degrees and so on. So all the materials need to stay in these harsh conditions for 20 years. And the device needs to work, and communicate constantly and so on. So a lot of thinking and a lot of working and a lot of improving and innovating when we try to reach and understand and achieve those milestones. Of course, this one planet design is completely connected to supply chain transparency. So because now we're on the level of materials. Of course, in one of our products, for example, there is 500 components. 500 or 700 depends on the product components. Meaning that, of course, every component can be supplied from many sources. Some are dual sources because these are specially developed components. Some are even 12 different suppliers. And we needed to reach out to all of them to get a really deep understanding of the use of materials and everything to be able to improve our own life cycle of the product. Then we needed to reach out to them and support them and ask them and push them towards using recycled materials and things like that. So that was the first part of our development towards circular economy, what we wanted to do. Then the second one was, of course, we understood that carbon footprint is what is the biggest milestone, the biggest goal that we need to achieve. So lowering the carbon footprint, and with understanding how our devices work and with being supported with the technology of EIoT, IoT, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, edge computing, and everything, the devices can be definitely used to bring the benefits on the level of the consumers, on the level of our customers, and on the level of our consumers. And I go now to the next slide, which is what I wanted to say. The future is really behind the meter, meaning that the infrastructure, meters are in every home, in every apartment, in every industry, more meters, and so on and so on. It's extremely important how the product is done and what the materials used, but it's even more important what the product brings. So what is the benefit that the product brings? So with using the data and using the functionalities of the devices, we can actually support our customers to cut down their own energy consumption or water consumption or anything else. And this is what I want to explain. So cutting down CO2 consumption on the level of Iskraemeco means bringing in recycled materials, means bringing in modularity of the products and everything. And we achieved 70% of cut down of CO2 footprint for our products. So 70% in the last 5 years. Yeah. So if our customers are really using our products to cut down or to improve energy efficiency, they can improve it for up to 30%, depends on the level of energy management that the country has. In Europe, that would be up to 10. In other countries, that would be far more. If this data is shared with community, with households, with end users, it's proved by many pilot cases that they can significantly contribute to better energy efficiency, and they can cut down their own consumption up to 10%. So this is what we try to do in the next years. We're trying to jump from us being suppliers only to them to really speed up the process that the community is also using the data and everything. Okay. And the same is on the water. I don't know if you know, but for example, in the water metering is more or less still not smart. The revolution is still happening. It just started to happen, also in European grounds. And 34% of water is just not calculated, is lost, and that is 80 billion euros every year. So installing smart devices is really important. But now when we talk about that, of course, it's extremely important what's the materials that are used in these devices. Yeah. So what we already 4-5 years ago, when we launched our first fair meter, so-called meter that is basically really done based on circular economy principles, all of them, we cut down the consumption of plastic by 20%, metals for 40%, and electronic for 20%. If we compare these products to some specific generations, it's even more. It goes up to 60% of metals less and things like that. We really innovated the whole packaging part of our business. We brought in transparency of the supply chain for 95%, and we're now at about moment where we can on our own start calculating life cycle analysis and so on and so on. And it took us a long time to reach that. Our goal is also, one of the goals is also to bring in recycled materials for, let's say, 50% of the meter mass we want to have from recycled materials. We're limited because of the technology at some points, but still in the last year we proved that we can use post-industrial recycled plastic for some parts of the plastic parts of our products. And if we use only 10% of that, that means 400 tons less plastic in the year. We did the same with the metals, and we brought in some recycled in our metal components. And if we do that for 10% at the same time, this is 400 tons less of virgin metals a year used. But we have a few issues here. So one issue is that we really want to use recycled material within the copper components of the products. And up until now, the technology is not supporting that, because in our devices, the copper needs to be really pure. It needs to be 99 electrolytic copper, meaning 99.9% purity and even more. And all the processes of recycling, the processes of producing and everything are not aligned in a way that we would be able to implement recycled copper in these materials. We tried many projects, and we reached out to the biggest companies, to companies that are Unicor, Rubis, and so on, and we got that same result from all of them. But some months ago, we met a company in Slovenia, Trilobit, that you will also be listening afterwards, that is sort of developing something that we might be using, or that the value chain below us, so the value chain producing the materials, can be using in order to bring the recycled materials in pure copper. One other thing that we're really careful about, and that I'm really happy that you're working on, is our products are using critical materials, our products are using conflict materials, and our strategy is to decrease the use of these materials, to close the loops of those materials, also that we would move towards closing loops of some of the materials. We all know what really means closing the loop. That's a really difficult thing, especially for a large industry. But we would like, and we're there to support projects where we see benefits of those improvements. So the strategy, I hope you probably all know, the new strategy on critical minerals of European Commission, that I'm really happy has made a large step also in the strategy towards that the European Union or Europe needs to be and step on a way towards self-sufficient on the supply of those materials. Of course, we're long away from that, but still progressing and moving towards this direction. So for the ending, just some comments and what are our commitments. So you understood our vision, but our commitment is that with our technology, that we need to innovate, renovate and change our business models in a way that we help our customers to thrive, to survive, because otherwise they will not. There's a lot of risks out there, that we help the global environment to restore, and that we help communities to preserve their quality of life or improve it. You need to know that Iskraemeco is present throughout Asia, Middle East, Africa, Latin America, where electricity poverty, energy scarcity, and water scarcity are huge problems. And with implementing these solutions, we can tackle those issues and improve them significantly. So I think I'm quite on time. Thank you for your attention. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm open.
Mojca, najlepša hvala tudi za tvojo predstavitev. Še ena zelo zanimiva. Vedno rad poslušam Mojco Markizeti, ko razpravlja in predstavlja njihove dosežke in njihove napore. Mojca, tudi ti ostani z nami, tudi zate imam nekaj vprašanj, čez približno 20 minut. No, tale drugi vsebinski sklop pa bo po 3 damah zaključil mož, torej Blažen med ženami. Z nami je Lukas Bartusevicius iz EIT RawMaterials regionalnega centra Baltic, ki pa bo predstavil startup ekosistem na območjih Litve, Latvije in Estonije, ki ga pokriva prav ta bratski EIT RawMaterial Hub Baltic. So, Lukas, I pass the stage, the virtual stage to you.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone can see me well. It is a slightly dark day in Lithuania, which is where I am from. So please excuse my semi-professional background. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at the conference. I mean, this event is clearly very well participated by very different types of professionals, and it's great to be among colleagues who come from various fields. I myself come from a very much entrepreneurial field, business development and management. So I could say I'm not a professional in the raw materials field, but I am quite good at managing the efforts of the hub in the raw materials field when it comes to working with the startup teams and involving companies. So before I jump into my presentation, I would like to say a few words about where I'm from. So I am from Lithuania, and Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, the three Baltic countries, have their own RIS hub that we collaborate in. And these countries are different, not only from each other, but from many other countries in Europe, especially when it comes to raw materials, because we do not really have many raw materials. Apart from Estonia, there isn't much extraction. There aren't many metallurgy fields in the country, and there are raw materials related initiatives, but it is difficult finding them and identifying them and getting them to join this whole EIT raw materials ecosystem. So one of the challenges that we have is not only finding the companies, but also finding the startups that would work very well in this field. This is because we need to apply a sort of a different view on what is raw materials when it comes to the Baltics. So for example, we do have a very well developed culture of recycling and circular economy. I'm sure that many countries in this conversation have heard and maybe are part of the what is called the deposit return scheme, DRS, which is a scheme popular in Europe where every bottle, every drink packaging sold has to be returned as deposit. So in Lithuania, for example, it's over 96% of all plastic and aluminium packaging drinks sold are being recycled. At the same time, the first unicorn startup that we had was also in the field of circular economy. The startup is called Vinted, and they specialize in used clothing and used items, and they're growing very well in Europe with this culture. So it is a bit of a challenge for us to transform EIT raw materials to what is applicable in Lithuania and the Baltics. And we only started in 2019, so I will just walk you through what we have been doing and how we are tackling some of these challenges. So I am now sharing my screen. I hope everyone can see it. Okay, I'll give it a second to, okay. So I work at Kaunas Technology University in Lithuania, and I work at Kaunas Technology University's startup space, which is a startup incubator and a pre-accelerator, and we work with companies, other universities, and startups in helping launch new businesses. But before we jump into that, I'll tell you about the hub itself a little bit. So it was started in 2019 as a partnership between Kaunas Technology University, Riga Technical University, and TalTech in Tallinn, Estonia. And we do have different links with companies, different links with startups, and the partnership is quite good because we are diverse in our skills. Riga Technical University is the lead of the hub, and it is, I think, the largest university of the bunch with over 15,000 students and 160,000 alumni, quite a few study branches and many PhD students. They support entrepreneurship through a very well-developed RTU design factory. I don't know how many of you have had the privilege of visiting RTU and their design factory, but it's a whole building equipped with, you know, fantastic brand new machinery for prototyping and prototypes development, and they have many workrooms, and there is live support there available almost 24/7. So it is a great thing to have such a lead university in our hub. Moving on. KTU, which is a bit of a smaller university, around 10,000 students around 300 to 400 PhD students a year, growing in international students every year. We have two integrated science and research centers, Santica Valley and Namnes Valley. So Santica Valley is where I'm based, and I will talk about it more a bit later on. We also have, I'll come back to this. We also have TalTech in the partnership. So TalTech is very well diversified when it comes to raw materials. It is a large university with 12,000 students, and they cover all 6 EIT raw materials tracks with several EIT focused PhD programs. So, I mean, some universities are great at developing startups, others are great at developing educational programs, and TalTech is a leader at both. So again, it's an excellent partner to have in this field. So I work at KTU Santica Valley, and it's where KTU's National Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center is based. So it does technology transfer, IP management, and among other things, young business development. So this is where I am based, and I work with startups from there. So very practical sort of overview as to what KTU Startup Space does. On the left side, it's more of an internal aspect of what we do. So we have, we incubate teams and we pre-accelerate them or incubate them throughout the year or the 3 months. We give them working space, we give them offices, we give them access to machinery, we give them access to researchers and venture capitalists and anything they might need from us as a support incubator. And externally, we work a lot with the ecosystem. So not just getting teams, but also generating a new stream of teams from around the country through events and hackathons and all sorts of initiatives with companies and public institutions. So these numbers are from 2019. We will update them as the year ends, but we have, I think, over 90 companies established now, almost 250 minimum viable products, over, I think, almost 400 jobs created. So since 2012, those are pretty decent numbers. And we focus on 4 things. So incubation, MVP development, ecosystem development, so more external work and ongoing consulting for people in the portfolio, anyone outside the network. So, I mean, everyone is welcome. We don't just focus on KTU startups, but we welcome anyone from around, Lithuania. We have people from other cities. We have people who are professors. We actually have teams that consist of professors from other universities. So that sort of speaks for itself. On average, we get about 10 to 12 teams a year. Most of them are startups and only 20% are spin-offs, but after this year, I think the numbers will change. If this is sort of a portfolio of our startups, I'm not sure that any of these names mean much to you, but in the Baltics, they are quite advanced, and some of the teams are more international, but they are B2B, so you don't really get to hear much about them. We work quite a lot with the ecosystem. So we host events and we try to get researchers and different types of technical developers to come out to the light and sort of show off what they've done. So, we are a technical university. So one of the problems that we always face is that there are many technical developers who are great developers, but they do not want to come out and they don't want to show off their inventions and their prototypes. So TECHNORAMA is one of the events that we host at KTU. And again, this is a national event that has been going on since 2001. So we grow each year. Last year, we had 70 plus inventions, over 2,000 visitors, B2B meetings for everyone. And we had a pitch-off contest with 12,000 euros in prize money handed out to the top 3 teams. This year, due to COVID, again, this is where innovation makes us move forward. So COVID produced a number of challenges that we could not host this event. And given that this event is one of the most important ones in KTU, we moved it online. So we created this online virtual space, which is essentially a 3D scanned building. I hope the video loads well for everyone. Okay, so this is the 3D scan of the building that we are based in, and you can visit this team space I will send the link in the chat. But basically, when you come in, you have two options: either to watch the conference, which was hosted live, or you can view the exhibition. So you pick from a variety of different teams, and you will be taken to each team's booth, and you can look at some of their prototypes or some of the photos of their products that they've done, and a presentation. So this took a lot of work, a lot of 3D scanning of prototypes, a lot of video filming of each candidate, but we created this space, and we will be keeping it live throughout the year, so that investors can view the teams, and teams have a space where they can lead people to look at what they've done and how they're progressing. So at this point, we're looking at Ligens. Ligens is a team that developed a tool that is an artificial intelligence based tool that can do all the work at looking at echocardiograms with a very, very low failure rate. So a great team with, I think they raised almost 300,000 euros investment this year. And you can look at everything that they've done and other teams have done in this building. So in this, we have sections for EIT Health, EIT Raw Materials, and EIT Food, which we represent in Lithuania. So moving on. So what it takes to launch startups is not only events and exhibitions, but also hackathons. So one of the we are one of the teams that produces quite a lot of hackathons. And this hackathons, I hosted recently a lecture on hackathons, and I think to anyone who wishes to produce a number of teams, a hackathon is possibly the best tool if you do it well, because it forces innovation, it forces developers to look at their products from different points of view, speak with different mentors, and as you start with an idea on, let's say, a Friday, by Sunday evening, when your time comes to pitch, you must already have a product with a business model. So this instant validation or discreditation, depending on how well you do, with different mentors and different specialists. I mean, it's some of the best things that you can do for the local startup ecosystem. So we host different hackathons. This is just one of them. We hosted a hackathon with the military and the Defense Ministry of Lithuania. We had over 400 applications. We started on a Friday. Participants came in on military grounds. We took rides in tanks and different off-road vehicles. We shot machine guns. And then on Friday evening, people were divided up into teams. They went off to work on their different tracks. So we had tracks in cyber defense, we had tracks in physical asset defense and operations. So people were producing different tools and different ideas into reality throughout the weekend through 3D printing and coding and speaking with special ops and speaking with management and speaking with politicians. And by the end, Sunday evening, people were, we all gathered into a big tent, and people were showing off, reusable flashbangs and drone deactivation antennas and cyber defense tools, and it was very good. Over 30,000 worth of prize, 30,000 euros worth of prizes were handed out, and I mean, we did have a lot of help with this hackathon, and people from the national television came, and from IBM and other big local companies that not only helped to support the event but also participated in it in teams. So we were planning to host a hackathon in raw materials this year, but because of COVID, the plan fell through. And we also saw that we need to do quite a bit more work in educating the public as to what raw materials is in the Baltic context. So at this point, we're actually in the HE Innovate program in raw materials track, and we have the opportunity now to plan and host hackathons and different events next year in educating the wider public as to what opportunities there are in raw materials, and that it's not just about extraction, but it's also about product development, circular economy, and other things that touches every day and should be promoted. So as I said, KTU Startup Space represents EIT Food, EIT Health, and EIT Raw Materials. And these organizations do help us a lot in, pulling out startups from the, the ether of society, and turning those teams into actual startups and businesses. So there are quite a few events that we host. There are, EIT health events such as eBoat, for example. So we might do something like this in the raw materials field. It's a great idea that EIT Health had. For example, this was an event in 2019 where there was a 6-week distance learning module, but essentially there was a boat, a cruise ship that was going around the Baltic Sea from country to country. So people on the boat were developing ideas, apps, and other programs and software in the health sector. And they would stop at different ports in each country to consult with local investors and local doctors and whoever from the ecosystem. And then they would move on to the next port. So this produced quite good results in terms of, not only networking, but also output of ideas. And there are a host of things that we can learn from other tracks of EIT. EIT Food is also where we are quite strong. We've been an EIT Food hub for quite a bit longer. So there is quite a bit of inspiration from this field. We're getting quite a few agri-food ideas and quite a few farm management solutions. So I think that those almost the same people have ideas in the raw materials field, but they just need to be polished and, let's say, formed in the right way to fit the raw materials criteria. So next, for KTU Startup Space, we're looking at artificial intelligence for next year's, launching a massive pre-acceleration program. And we were trying out pre-acceleration sort of quietly. We learned some lessons and now we want to launch a larger program. So this will be part of the track for teams to go into the raw materials accelerator, because the way we form activities in the Baltic Hub is that it's quite a funnel. So we start with larger events in the beginning of the year, and the events get smaller and more targeted by the end of the year, so that hopefully it becomes a funnel and produces workable teams and workable products by the end of the year, so that we can pre-accelerate and then move on to the main accelerator. And also open banking, which is sort of a massive, massive opportunity for small teams to get access to very large markets. So that's it from me. I see that the host is back, and I think that I have still 2 more minutes, but I think that is time saved. So I'll hand back over to you. Thanks everyone for listening. I will be around for the discussion part, and if there are any questions, you can message privately or publicly, however you like it. And I hope to speak with you soon more.
Okay, thank you, Lucas, very much for this insightful information. And please don't go, because we will discuss now. We have quite a lot of questions. So I kindly ask also Mojca and also Tina and also Mateja to join me on the stage. So actually, I can't see you. Yes, I can see you now. I can see Lucas there. I can see, oh, hi, Mateja, you're also there. So Tina. Okay, I can also see there Tina and Mojca. Yes, we are 5 of us. We are together. So if you can just say hello, I am here, so that I can hear you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay,
Hi.
great, great. Lucas, I will start with you because you were the last one, and we are the only men here surrounded by these fine ladies. You were talking about hackathons. Do you also organize some virtual hackathons now? Or maybe how would military virtual hackathon look like?
That is an excellent question. And I'll do your question first, and then if I have enough time, I'll get to Tina's question in the comments. So
yes. I also have prepared Tina's questions.
Oh, excellent. So okay. So first of all, I don't know how much time I have, but I'll try to be concise.
Yeah, try to be in 43 seconds.
Okay. We have been following online hackathons because there was a very big EU-wide hackathon, and there have been smaller hackathons in the Baltic countries online. And there is a lot of learning that needs to be done because it's very difficult to manage such an event, and because it has to have a certain level of production quality. It has to keep the people engaged throughout. So we have been learning lessons, and I think we will be hosting a hackathon next year that will be built on lessons learned from other people. So we have been watching, we have been following, and we've been taking notes. So hopefully next year we can roll out something great.
Okay, great. So we can expect something huge coming. And now let's go to Tina's question. So how is the entrepreneurship development program funded at KTU and Taltech?
I cannot speak on Taltech's behalf, unfortunately,
Okay.
but I can talk about KTU. So there are many different sources of how we are funded. Quite a bit of so we use tools that are provided to us by EIT and RawMaterials and health and food. So those tools help us host events and help us host pitching events and help us attract teams and companies. We are also sometimes funded by private companies. So for example, if we host a hackathon, the budget for a decent hackathon is anywhere between 20 to 35,000 euros. So we cannot expect that money to come from internally. So we have to get companies on board. So we get different partners that support us from 1,000 to 5,000 euros each, and that's how we pull that money together. Also, we rely quite a bit on the ecosystem. So, for example, when we talk to investors, they come around and sometimes give prizes, sometimes they support in other ways. We get help from media, so media comes in and does live feeds and they show show the stuff on TV and on the website. So a lot of it is free help from the ecosystem. So we just have to keep good relationships with everyone and keep everyone involved.
Yes, exactly. Very good point. So fingers crossed for you. You're doing really good. Well, I didn't know for your hub, but what I've seen now for the last 20 minutes, you're working really great. Mojca, there was one quote you used in your presentation. It was written, "Actions first, excuses never." So do you never excuse yourself for your actions?
Yes, I do, but I prefer to act, even if we make mistakes, even if we ask the wrong questions, even if we do. I think the worst thing is not to try. So this is what I wanted to say. It's better to excuse yourself once you've already tried and experienced a lot and learned a lot and so on. And so, okay, maybe not the right way that we went and so on, than not to try at all. There's still a lot of that going on throughout the economy, waiting for the others, taking, and so on. But yeah, I believe we need to, if we used to live in a society, now we live in an economy, and the economy is the one that is irresponsible and needs to take faster steps. We need to be bolder, we need to be more organized, and the competition needs to be changed with synergy.
Mojca, is it hard to try? You said it is very important to try. Is it hard to try as a corporation?
Well, definitely as a corporation, you always are preparing business cases and calculating ROIs and things like that. And for a global company, those numbers need to be quite high. So in the beginning, I have to say, we needed quite a bit of a push also from the side of our customers, and the understanding of the risks existing. So what happens if we don't try that and we don't develop in this direction needed to be really high. Now, I'm now talking about like how it was 5 years ago. Now it's a different story. Now we are the proactive. Now we are the ones that we want to be a step ahead or 2 steps ahead of our competition, ahead of the legislation, ahead of everybody else. And for us it's really important to have the difference from our competitors, from third countries, from China, and so on and so on. So it's a bit of a different starting point.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I believe it was harder 5 years ago than now, but I still think that it is quite hard to try in big corporations. Lucas, Mojca is coming from big, huge corporation. Well, for Slovenian matters, do you connect startups with corporations at your hub? Because you are funding startups, you are boosting startups. At our Chamber of Commerce of Slovenia, we are trying to establish good strategic collaborations between startups and corporations on the other side. Do you also do that?
Okay, so there isn't, let's say, an official mechanism set up for it, but the way we work with teams is that, we're not a big incubator, so we can host 10 to 15 teams a year. That means that I get direct relations with every team, and when it comes to team support and team mentoring, I know everyone and their problems and their products and stuff like that. At the same time, I know the companies that can support them and can provide the actual help. So we don't just help them meet the companies, we force them to go and meet the companies. Like,
okay.
You cannot get good feedback on a B2B product if you don't actually speak with the potential customers. So we force them to go out and speak and get the feedback and come back to us and sort of look again at what can be improved. So there isn't, again, an official way to do this, or let's say a platform, but it's just, you pick up the phone, you get on the email, and you just go and do it, because any company that you might need is just one phone call away, and you just need to do it.
Yes, please, all of you who are participating and listening, just remember this. A company is just one call away. Lucas, that was great quote. And you are also helping to develop business models with startups. And Tina was talking about business model of their technology, their process. Tina, do you use any specific methodology for the development of your business model?
Well, actually, now I can speak in English, right? Because
Yeah, please. Yeah,
English.
yeah.
Okay. Actually, there is no like pro forma business model. It needs to be evaluated for each startup, for each technology, for each market need, or whatever the product is about. So there is. I cannot say that when I work with companies, startups, or corporations, the principle is the same, but the business model develops. Because there are so many, like Mojca said, there is legislative maybe boundary. There is environmental policies that you need to go around or comply with. So you cannot come to a client and say, okay, these are 3 business models, one is good for you. No, this is the whole system evolving behind it, from IP to marketing, to go to market, to research development, to law, to environmental, to supply chain management. And when you have everything under control, or at least you think you have, because the world is unpredictable, then you can start developing your business models, and then you stick to it, because you have done your homework, and then you can go forward, but not upfront.
Okay, but if we stick to your project that you presented in Mateja, how do you develop business model for this project? Do you develop it for specific markets, for specific customer?
Maybe Mateja is the right person to answer this, because she developed it from the beginning.
Okay.
Now she just only needs to launch it. She just needs, a little push.
Let's go then to Mateja's room. Mateja, yeah.
Yes, actually, the development was done jointly by some partners. The first initiation of the project idea was from the research center Bistra, and now we are further upscaling the technology jointly together in the partnership of SPL-CYCLE project. So I'm just a researcher on this project, just to clarify. But regarding the business model, it was initially, and as I also stated, evaluated and validated by customers. So it was developed together with the customers, with the primary medium producers. So this is the most important thing. And as Lucas mentioned, the customer is just one call away. You have to be proactive. You have to seek information everywhere you can to tailor the product, whatever you have, to the needs which are on the market. This is the main message, I would say. And what we are doing here, back on development, is we are tailoring the products, the cleaned SPL material, to the needs of the local industry. And this is one part of our goal, to close the loop in the local bubble, if we can say, surrounding the prime aluminium producer. And to keep the resources in the circle, of course.
Thank you, Mateja. You are the second one who put this very special and important topic. So go to your customer, call your customer, and understand your customer, because if you will understand the need of the customer, the pain of the customer, then you will develop a good innovation or the process or product. Mateja, have one very silly question for you. This is really silly question, but you exposed Coca-Cola aluminum can. Is Pepsi can samely wastable, if I can say it?
Depends. It totally depends on the market where this can was actually produced, because the aluminium is a metal which is very easily recycled, actually. And for example, in the United States, it's approximately 30% of recycled aluminium already on the market, and the number will rise. But we all know that the demand for the aluminium will rise even more, say like that. But it totally depends. I cannot specify how much of the recycled aluminium is either in Coca-Cola or in Pepsi. There could be some, but not a total amount.
Okay, this was a little bit provocative, but now less provocative, or maybe even more. Which countries in the world has the highest amount of cathodic waste, and even which continents?
It's one word, one country. It's China.
Okay, okay. If you put this into the percentage, so if you compare China and the second one, what is the difference between them?
China has more than 50%. I think 55. Europe, if you put Europe on the numbers, is 7%, a bit more. So now you see the numbers where we are going, and there is the Middle East with around 10, and then United States with 20, 30, something like that. And then there are some percentages around the world with Australia, which is also quite an important primary producer. But this is it. China is above 50%.
Okay, okay. So this is really huge. So maybe China is the next market here when you will be boosting your business model. You said that graphite is the result of your process. Well, one of the outcomes. Can this graphite be used, for example, for sport products like bikes or walking poles?
It depends, because it's actually graphitized carbon. It's a particular material. It's not a complete graphite, and as in the current stage, it's the best utilization is in metallurgical industry, where is the highest demand. But maybe we can develop further. We will see how it will go, and we are limited by the source material, by the cathode material which is used initially in the primary aluminium production in the electrolysis. So currently it's not complete graphite, because it's according to the properties the best solution. So I can say that probably not, to your answer.
Okay, let's stay with the sentence probably not for now. Maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future, yes.
Yeah, let's have a dream, right? Mojca, I will end this discussion with you before we go to the lunch. This might be, again, quite a little bit of daring, provocative question, but circular economy is, let's say, based on 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. It seems that most companies that are working on this circular business models are working on recycling, some of them on reusing, but almost no company now in this mass production world works on reduce. What is your opinion? Okay, you are doing now, I can see, on reduce, but what is your opinion about this?
I think this is one of the at the same time, one of the biggest challenges that we need to sort of comprehend, that we need to understand, and we need to adjust our business models to. And this is what I meant when I said that the economy needs to take all the responsibility and is the responsible one. But at the same time, it's also really doable, basically, because the technologies that are existing and that are being developed, like you see, really enables us to reduce our own consumption, to reduce our own the use of materials, and so on and so on. And that can be placed in many strategic levels of, you mentioned, the big industry and so on. So we need to reduce use of material, we need to reduce use of energy, and we need to, in the end, we need to reduce on the side of our consumers. Yeah.
And we are back to consumers, and we are at the beginning of the development of human-to-human business model that also Mojca exposed. Okay,
Exactly.
so thank you, Mateja, Mojca, Tina, and Lucas for chatting with me. Thank you for your presentations. Now it's time for you to take a break, to go to the lunch. You will have now 50 minutes for lunch, for coffee, and also chatting in breakout rooms. We have 4 breakout rooms, and now I will go back to Slovenian language and say it in Slovenian language, and you can hear the translations. So, med odmorom za kosilo so na voljo 4 sobe, virtualne sobe za mreženje. Prva bo pogovor ob kavi, kjer bo moderatorka Meta Dobnikar iz regionalnega centra ADRIA, potem imamo drugo sobo aktivnosti regionalnega centra ADRIA, RawMaterials, tam bosta moderatorki Mateja Košir in Urša Šolc. Tretja soba so aktivnosti v okviru regionalne inovacijske sheme, kjer bo moderatorka Tina Benda, ki je vodja regionalne podjetniške podporne, oziroma se opravičujem, ki je vodja regionalnega inovacijskega sistema RawMaterials. In še 4. soba za virtualno mreženje bo namenjena podjetniškim podpornim aktivnostim. Tam pa vas čaka moderator Krištof Kubacki, torej že danes tisti, ki je govoril povsem na začetku, torej direktor vzhodnega kolokacijskega centra RawMaterials. Evo, skoraj na minuto natančno smo zaključili, imate 50 minut časa za hrano, za pijačo, za odmor in pa za virtualno mreženje. Se vidimo točno ob 13:00, ko začnemo z zadnjim delom današnjega dogodka. Dober tek.